and on the Rose Hall main road in the parish hours earlier. Andre Young of Lilliput was killed just after 3 p.m. as he was driving along the main road. It's reported that Mr. Young had just left home when he was pounced on and shot. Superintendent Carl Russell, commanding officer for the St. James Police Division, stated that a targeted operation was carried out in the community based on the information that the perpetrators were from Lilliput. He said when the police approached a property in the community, 3 men ran into bushes and escaped. The police searched the premises and found more than 100 rounds of assorted ammunition and 2 firearms. Superintendent Russell said the shooting of Mr. Young is linked to lottery scamming. 3 men accused of carrying out an armed robbery in St. Elizabeth last year have been captured by the police. An illegal gun and 15 rounds of ammunition were allegedly taken from the suspects, who are said to be from Clarendon. Superintendent Dwight Daly, head of the St. Elizabeth Police, reported that the men were held shortly after carrying out an armed robbery in Mountainside about 10 o'clock on Wednesday night. The gunmen reportedly held up and robbed patrons at a bar, then escaped in a white Toyota motor car. The police were alerted and were able to intercept the vehicle, which had 3 men aboard. The police theorized that the gunmen were working with an accomplice who is believed to be in possession of a motorcycle that was stolen by the robbers at the bar. This is the second vehicle with firearms intercepted by the St. Elizabeth Police in the last 3 days. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck has charged that human rights organizations Jamaicans for Justice JFJ has not been balancing the rights of victims and accused persons. Mr. Chuck has urged JFJ to practice fair play in his utterances. Kaydan Crooks has the details.
Addressing JFJ's Justice for All campaign in St. Andrew on Thursday, Mr. Chuck said the human rights advocacy group has been labeled as an organization that focuses primarily on the injustices done to offenders by state. He said this perception has encouraged criminals to feel that if they breach the law, they can always get various organizations to speak for them. Mr. Chuck warned that rights groups should be very careful of this kind of perception being fostered. He also suggested that matters with strong evidence could progress more quickly through the courts if there were fewer challenges. The Justice Minister argued that where people breach the law and there is good evidence to support that they have done so, they should naturally be brought to justice. He explained that they must get all the advice, all the representation that is needed so they can have a fair play and have their day in court. But what has happened now is that the courts are so overwhelmed, so overburdened, that when people try to go to court to get justice, it's almost an impossible task. From the Suncity News Center, I'm Kaydan Crooks.
Net remittances to Jamaica declined in May. The Bank of Jamaica says remittance inflows were valued at $271.2 million, a 6.7 reduction compared to last year. The total net remittance inflows for January to May amounted to $1.3 billion. That was 38 US million, or 3% lower when compared to the same period in 2021. The U.S. remained the main source market for remittance inflows, with 70.7% of funds coming from that country. The European Central Bank ECB has raised interest rates for the first time in more than 11 years as it tries to control soaring Eurozone inflation. The ECB increased its key interest rate by 0.5 percentage points to 0% and plans further hikes this year. The rate has been negative since 2014 in a bid to boost the region's economy after years of weak growth. but consumer prices rose at a record of 8.6% in the 12 months to June as food, fuel, and energy costs soared. This is well above the bank's 2% target. It comes after the Bank of England and the U.S. Federal Reserve also put their rates to try and rein in rising prices. You're listening to the evening news right here on Suncity 104.9 FM. The time is now 5:07 p.m. Continuing the stories with news in the region. In Trinidad and Tobago, the health minister is appealing to people to get their booster shots of the COVID-19 vaccine. Health Minister Terence Delasing told the COVID-19 press conference Wednesday that to date, 166,895,000 persons have been boosted. He said the Twin Island Republic has 715,000 persons, or 51% of the population, who are fully vaccinated. Mr. Delasing noted that persons who have had their first booster are eligible to have their second booster some 4 to 6 months after the first. In international news, Ukrainian president said his national security team believes they have a significant potential for the advance of their forces on the front and for the infliction of significant new losses on their occupiers. We have more from Maya Chung.
Zelensky was speaking in his daily video message after meeting with intelligence chiefs, the armed forces commander, and the interior and defense ministers. We defined tasks in some tactical areas to strengthen our positions, and we also thoroughly worked out the issue of providing the troops with the modern weapons. The intensity of attacks on the enemy still needs to be increased, Zelensky said. He said that his chief of staff and armed forces commander had another conversation with the U.S. National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley. And tomorrow, we also expect news for our state from Turkey regarding the unblocking of our ports, Zelensky said. Listing places struck by Russian artillery and rocket forces Thursday, Zelensky said each strike is an argument for Ukraine to receive more HIMARS and other modern and effective weapons. He also welcomed a proposed resolution in the U.S. Senate that would recognize Russia's actions against Ukraine as genocide. From the Suncity News Center, I'm Maya Chung.
In other international news, Turkey says a deal has been reached with Russia to allow Ukraine to resume exports of grain through the Black Sea. It is to be signed on Friday in Istanbul by Ukraine, Russia, Turkey, and United States UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The world shortage of Ukraine grain since Russia's 24 February invasion has left millions at risk of hunger. The invasion sent food prices soaring, so the deal to unblock Ukraine's ports is crucial. Some 20 million tons of grain is stuck in silos in Odessa. Ukraine's foreign ministry confirmed that another UN-led round of talks to unblock grain exports would take place in Turkey on Friday, and a document must be signed. He added that Ukrainian delegation would only support decisions which guarantee the safety of the country's southern regions, strong military positions in the Black Sea, and safe exports of Ukrainian agricultural produce. The U.S. State Department welcomed the UN-brokered deal, but said it was focusing on holding Russia accountable for implementing it. The department spokesman, Ned Price, stated that they should never have been in the position in the first place, and it was a deliberate decision on the part of the Russian Federation to weaponize food. The deal is also meant to facilitate Russian exports of grain and fertilizer via the Black Sea. The UN and Turkey have been working for 2 months to broker a grain deal amid global anxiety about the food crisis. You are listening to the evening news right here on Suncity 104.9 FM. We'll have sports right after this. In news in sports, West Indies head coach Phil Simmons says he's fully aware that he's under pressure ahead of the Caribbean team's 3-match ODI series against India, which starts on Friday in Trinidad. The West Indies have lost 11 straight ODI series against India since 2006, but after their 3-0 trouncing by Bangladesh, Simmons knows what is at stake. Former player Philo Wallace suggested that the coaching staff might need a break to regroup and refresh with the team involved in 31 matches this year across 3 formats. However, the 56-year-old Simmons says his coaching staff is fully energized to get their methods across. In foreign exchange trading news for Thursday, July 21, 2022, the days of foreign exchange trading ended with $1 retailing for $153.33. The Canadian closed the trading day at $124.20, while the pound sterling retails at $182.19. That's it for the news update from the Suncity News Center here on 104.9 FM. Join us again tomorrow at 7 a.m. for more news on the station. Please remember to follow us on all our socials. For Instagram and Twitter, look for us at Suncity 104.9 FM and Facebook at Suncity Radio 104.9 FM. Stay tuned for the Heatwave Show right here on Suncity Radio.